Here's Brody Brazil.
So Jasper, 50 NHL games under your belt last season. As you go through this summer and preparing for what's next, does it make it easier that you've already been to the NHL? You've already known what it's about? Maybe things are a little bit more clearer?
Yeah, I think you use experience as much as you can, right? Obviously, getting the opportunity to play 50 NHL games and then a bunch of AHL games as well. You use that, and take it into your summer training just to be more prepared the next year.
What is your biggest takeaway from last season, which I realize was a bit segmented for you and where you played and how it went? It wasn't all one start to finish season. What do you take away from it?
Take away a bunch of stuff. I think some of the highlights are, for me, is how many games there are. So you've got to have your body in phenomenal shape to be ready to go for, hopefully 82 and then more games. That's the goal, right? To play more than 82 games in a season. And also just the speed and the competitiveness. So I think just taking that into this summer and trying to really turn my body into a real pro body and then work on the little details.
There's like zero easy nights in the NHL, and maybe not to say that there were at any other level, but that's probably really magnified, huh?
Yeah, it's super magnified, and I think that I came from college where I played around 30 games, less than 30 games my junior year of COVID. So when you go in and you're playing every other, you're playing day off, play, day off, it just takes a little bit for you to get kind of acclimated to that. And I think that for me, it was a big focus of this summer is saying, okay, how can I be ready to go every night? How can I be ready to go every practice? How can I get my body to be in a state where I have, more energy, more pop? So that's what I've been focusing on.
I've been wanting to ask you about this since you joined the Sharks at the beginning of last season, but it actually goes back to 2016. And San Jose got to its first Stanley Cup final. You're living in Oregon. You made the trip down to see a Sharks game as a Sharks fan, wearing a Sharks jersey and holding up a sign that says, and I quote here, "Brent Burns is my spirit animal." Where do you want to start with that one?
I've been a big Sharks fan. They've been my team on the West Coast since I was a young kid. I went to games. That was the first ever game I went to. Was probably 8 or 9 years old down in the Bay, and so I've been following for a long time. My stepfathers had season tickets since they were franchised. So when they made it there, me and my brother were like, we got to go. This is just history, and so we created the sign and we thought that'd be cool. We went down and great memory for us and great time.
When that picture got a little circulation at the beginning of last season, I think, did you score in your first game or your second game? It was pretty early on. You got a first goal and a couple points, right?
Yeah.
People started reconnecting that story. Did Brent Burns ever see that photo or say anything to you about that?
It circulated in the team group chat pretty quickly, and laughs on the bus. We were actually in Canada. Didn't have service on my phone, so I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and someone kind of tilted it my way, and I just had a good laugh about it, and pretty cool to kind of go full circle there. Yeah,
I was going to say, isn't that crazy how it worked out? And you would have never thought it in 2016 that, number one, you'd be on the Sharks eventually. But even making the NHL, never necessarily a guarantee. And you know what, in five years since that photo was taken, you went from doing that to being a teammate. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool story for sure.
Hey, you're also into pickleball?
Yeah, I love pickleball, so yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Now, the reason I like it is because I'm not as athletic as you, and so it's like tennis, but with less of the running. Why do you like it?
I think maybe the same reason, like after a long day of training and stuff, it's a little bit easier to play with my dad, and it's just really fun sport. We had a lot of guys play at college, and so just going after practice or not during the season, but in the summer times, we'd go and we'd play and get some really competitive games, and the game's really growing. So it's a lot of fun. I
was going to say, don't you think this is like the next big thing when people realize what it is, and access is easy because all you really need is a tennis court, right? You don't need a bunch of special equipment. For probably $50, you could get 4 people playing, right? It's easy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we gotta come up together, link together, and create a pickleball brand or something like that. So.
Yeah, we'll get some endorsements too. That's what I could really use.
Yes.
Training camp, when you show up this year, I mean, it's same in the sense that you're wearing a Sharks jersey and there are some of the same people, but I would expect training camp this year to feel more different than similar to last year. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
In what ways are you looking forward to this, and how? Like, what do you expect it to be like? New coach, new coaching staff, new general manager, a handful of really a lot of new teammates surrounding you. What do you expect that to be like when you're starting? Not entirely new, but you're starting a new page.
Yeah, for sure. I think that something that's been evident since Greer came in was high compete, high energy. That's something I'm trying to bring every day and work again to increase the motor speed that you can go at and make sure every shift is hard, competitive. You're here to compete. So I think it's going to start, from day one and of training camp and hopefully push through throughout the season.
From the fan perspective, and you probably know this going back with the Sharks as you do. I mean, they're usually in the playoffs year after year. And right now, sitting on 3 straight years on the outside looking in, it's never happened before, and it is abnormal. What do you think gets the San Jose Sharks back to the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's a team environment, right? Of competing every night, showing up with your best, working hard. Obviously, it's 82 game season, so there's going to be ups and downs. And how can we stick together and push forward? And if you're there to compete every night and you bring your best, good things happen.
And I would imagine that it is encouraging and exciting. And as much as, nobody likes to see one of their teammates traded or this or that, but transition does offer new opportunities, right? I mean, is there a sense of kind of a blank slate for a lot of people?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing's given, everything's earned.
Yeah.
When a team is built like that, you have people who come in every day and say, hey, how can I get better? Because if you can take a step forward yourself, then you're just going to be helping those around you.
Okay, switching gears here to something that's a lot more important than sports. And it's one thing for individuals or athletes to, speak up and speak out for social justice. But you and your family members, I mean, going generations back, you have actually lived it. And I guess beginning with your grandparents, one of which who worked with Martin Luther King Jr., the other who actually marched in Selma, Alabama. Is that where it starts? And first off, as we kind of paint this picture, what can you tell me about your grandparents and their influence?
Yeah, huge influence for me. I was, really raised in that kind of environment. My grandparents really, sacrificed a lot of, what they had and tried to help other people around them. And I think it's kind of a unique perspective. I don't know if a lot of people in the hockey world were necessarily raised like that. So right. I think that for me to be able to kind of be in an environment where people, hey, are looking up to you and seeing kind of, you have anything to say and trying to, spread what I know and how I was raised to, shed light on issues that, might not get shed enough light on in this sport.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, let's be brutally honest. Most people in hockey look just like you and me. And when they find out you're a kid from Oregon, like, what do you know about this? And in reality, you know a lot. And a lot of it goes to your brother, Kevin, who was adopted into your family. Kevin's black. And I'm sure you learned a lot of different things that you never would have without him in your life. What was it like to have Kevin growing up as a sibling?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think that we really, embraced him when he was adopted into our family, and just being able to sit there and talk to him about some of the experiences he's had kind of really opens my eyes. Again, like you said, I haven't faced half the things that he's faced in his life just because the color of his skin, which isn't fair.
Right.
So just to be able to talk and say, hey, get a little perspective of what it's like. We're obviously very close, and again, he's had some things happen and come up in his life that shouldn't have happened. And being able to kind of be someone he can talk to is something I cherish.
Does it start with just most people aren't aware because, to your point, it's never impacted them? And is part of what you want to do and being out there and spreading, your messages that you're just asking people to look at this before you decide on how you're going to feel, what you're going to do, just understand that you don't understand. Is that it?
Yeah, really well said. I think that a lot of times people have the blinders on when it comes to things that don't affect them.
Yeah.
When in reality, the people who aren't affected sometimes have the most influence on making that change. So for me, it's how can I influence someone who watches hockey and doesn't maybe understand that there are, social justice issues out there. And if I can be an avenue to just point them in the direction of, hey, maybe have a conversation with your kids who are going to school with all different, ethnicities and people, and how can you be more inclusive? That's kind of what I've just been trying to do.
If it weren't for your brother Kevin, and if it weren't for your grandparents, do you think you would have been exposed? I mean, do you think you otherwise would be who you are without them?
No. And I think that's a huge problem, right? Because I'm pretty unique in that aspect.
Yeah.
So looking at, my understanding and saying, hey, there's going to be a whole lot of people out here who don't have this.
Right.
So how can we have more education in schools? How can we have more family talks? Because I think kids growing up are heavily influenced by their parents, and why wouldn't you be, right? So, having parents and people who are in the leadership position in their family have good conversations.
These are your positions, but these are also your passions, right? Like you're passionate about spreading this message and making sure that it's out there either on social media, or I know you've been a part of certain marches, but when you make these statements, what is the type of feedback that you do get? And I would hope mostly positive, maybe some nothing, maybe even some negative, but what are the types of things that you hear in return?
It's all over the place, really. There's a ton of positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a ton of negative. And I remember having a conversation with my family about the negative. And, sometimes when the negative happens, it can actually be a learning lesson for those around that. It can kind of be like a sore thumb, right? You kind of check the sore thumb out a little bit more. So
right.
We've had talks that, hey, maybe if somebody's very upset with this and sharing this, hopefully they're going to do a little bit of research into what we're trying to share. Yeah.
To your point, it might be awkward, maybe painful, but there can be something taken away from it. It can be an experience. Hey, last thing on this, and just relating to diversity and inclusivity, in the last handful of years, the NHL and the hockey community, it has started to talk the talk. I'll say that. Do you think that they're walking the walk yet, or they can do a little bit better at that, or there's still a little bit of work to be done there?
Yeah, I think there's always still work to be done. I think they're taking positive steps in the right direction, which is important for anyone who's trying to, bring this more into the limelight. So I think it starts with us players, it starts with coaches, it starts with management, and how can we share our knowledge with the next generation so things can get even better.
So you'd probably be happy to be on any NHL team. I mean, players don't necessarily get their choice. I mean, it's top honor in life, right? Top accomplishment to be in the NHL. But knowing who you are a little bit, and I don't know how much you've experienced of the Bay Area, doesn't this really feel like a perfect fit? You should be here. you should be playing in Northern California. You thought about that? Yeah.
I think I've mentioned it with my family for sure. It seems, and it's a dream come true, obviously. It's really cool. I have, a lot of my friends have moved down and started working in San Francisco, childhood friends, and having family around. I have to have some uncles and stuff who live in the Bay Area. And so it's a dream come true. It's an amazing place. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, even when you were not with the Sharks for times last season, you're still in the Bay Area. What do you like about this region?
Yeah, there's so much. Like, I think, you've got Santa Cruz and you have some beautiful mountains and hiking opportunities. Got some great food. I just, I love the weather, right?
Yeah.
Going to San Francisco, exploring, I think it's a great spot to be.
Hey, your name is fascinating to me. It's just very regal. It's like one of those names that pops. And I'm Brody Brazil, right? But Jasper Weatherby sounds fancy. Is there a story to your first name, or how your parents chose it?
I think the story is my mom was trying to come up with my name and saw a bakery named Jasper's Bun in the Oven or something. So I think I've actually only met a handful of people who are named Jasper. I've met probably 5 to 10 dogs who are named Jasper.
Yeah.
So it's much more common in the dog world, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah, you're probably a dog person, probably. Yeah, me too. I get that one too. Yeah, my dog is named Brody. I'm like, okay, I like your dog. That's great. Yeah. Hey, one more thing. A lot of young, up and coming players with the Sharks, right? That's what kind of where the wave of the future is going. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, and this is not to exclude anybody, but if you have a favorite other player that you like playing with, or you like watching, or you feel really good about one of them, again, not to pressure you here, not to say it's nobody else, but if you had to pick one, who do you really like?
This is going to be, I like watching Nick Cicek. Yeah. So he's a Barracuda defenseman. We got the road trip together when we had COVID. Really cool guy. Interesting. Works extremely hard. I think he's going to be a sleeper pick, but big fan of him. See, that was my reaction when you said it. It was not what I was expecting, but when you explained it, now I appreciate it. So, hey, Jasper, honestly, really appreciate your time in doing this. Thanks for the insight and the background. And we were talking before, last year I kind of had to stay away a little bit more with COVID, but I'm hoping that's not the case. And you must be just looking forward to hopefully what is a normal NHL season, right? It's been a rough couple years. Yeah, I'm excited to compete, excited to get out there. Yeah. Well, thank you for the time here. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. Really thanks for having me out here.